Hello everyone, my name is Ayden Hoff, and this is Football Fanatic. Basically, this podcast is just me rambling on about football for really however long I'd like to, and just me sharing my opinions about the latest things going on. And on this episode, I'll be discussing the last week's headlines, previewing the Thursday night game, and talking about the upcoming Sunday games. First, let's talk about last week's headlines. And just to clarify, none of these are from this week. These are all for right before week 9. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with Von Miller because as a Broncos fan, this one makes me sad beyond words. I probably could sit here for an hour and tell you how I feel about this one. As a Von Miller fan, I'm glad for him because he gets to move on to an actual good team and maybe win another championship. But as a Broncos fan, I wish we could still have him because he was great. There's no other way to put it. You know, I know the Rams have basically no draft capital, but I feel like we got just a bag of chips for him. We could have gotten a lot more for him. I know he's old and he's got a lot of salary, but still, he's Von Miller. And I mean, as a Broncos fan, I would like to have him, but I don't think we need him. We have plenty of defensive end depth, and we traded for a guy from Minnesota, and last week he started his first game and he ended up being like a sack and a half, so I think we'll be fine, but I'm just going to miss him. And now we're going to switch it to the Rams side of things. Are they now the new Super Bowl favorites with this addition? For me, I think it's either them or the Cardinals. As of right now, the Cardinals are winning the division, but the Rams could easily swoop in and just take it over because they're in win-now mode, and this trade just kind of proves it. All right, moving on to other news, we're going to talk about Derrick Henry now. Thrilling winner against the Colts. He suffered an ankle injury that could end his season, but he could also be back in as soon as 6 weeks. The timeline is pretty uncertain, but it's horrible news for the Titans and Derrick Henry and his fantasy owners. Not me. But I think the Titans should still be able to maintain their division lead because they got, I think it's three or four game lead, and they just beat the Colts. I think they swept them, so the division should still be theirs, but will they be fine without him? I think everyone's going to talk about the running game and how much they're going to lose from that, but Tannehill has been doing great this year, and their weapons have been stepping up, and Tannehill himself has been stepping up, and it's not like it's the end of the world for the Titans. They have good running backs behind Henry, and they signed Adrian Peterson. He's a tough runner, so teams will still have to load the box if they want to stop the run, which just opens up that passing attack even more. And really, the defense has also got to step up. I know it's been better this year, but now with King Henry out, it's got to be better, and the defense has got to play better, and Tannehill's got to win with his arm now. Speaking of arms, Jameis Winston suffered an ACL tear and MCL damage in their win against the Bucs Week 8. This is a big blow for the Saints. I don't know what's worse, King Henry or Jameis Winston, because Winston was their starting quarterback, and now he's injured. He's out for the year, and they have Trevor Siemian. And as a Broncos fan, I know Trevor Siemian well. He performed great against the Bucs, but can he keep it up against the Falcons? He should be able to, because Bucs and the Falcons are two completely different teams, and the Falcons are, to put it the nice way, not as good. But he should be fine. But it's the defense has got to keep playing well. And Alvin Kamara's got to keep being dominant, and hopefully he will, because he's on my fantasy team. But speaking of my fantasy team, let's talk about Calvin Ridley. He's announced that he's going to step away from football to focus on his mental health. But I'm glad he's doing this because mental health is extremely important. And I think some people don't realize that, and some people are mad because, well, they're a Falcons fan or have him on their fantasy team like me. But I think I'm glad he's doing this because he would play better with a healthy mind than with whatever he is going through now. But speaking of this in football terms, will this be a huge blow to the Falcons' passing attack? To me, I don't really think so. He's been kind of rather quiet this year, and they have lots of weapons and ice-cold Matty Ice. So the Falcons, although the Falcons, not that they were going to make the playoffs anyway, but still hate when one of your best players is gone. Now let's get into the releases of this week. Desean Jackson, he was seeking a trade from the Rams. Why? I don't know. I don't know why he would want to leave the Rams. They're doing really well, but maybe it's because of the receiver depth. They have a lot of good receivers. He could have just wanted more targets, or maybe he wanted some more money, but the Rams didn't have it because they don't have very much cap space. Either way, the trade didn't happen, and now he's in the free agent market. So, with some good landing spots for him. I think Jacksonville would be a good one. The Jaguars, they'd be a good weapon for Trevor Lawrence to develop with, and they have the most cap space in the league, so they could definitely afford him if he wanted to get paid. He could also go to the Texans. I mean, they have a decent amount of cap space. They need wide receivers. And if Deshaun Watson, if all of this goes away and he's proven innocent, this would make him happy, I would think. And last but not least, we had the Patriots. I tried to put an NFC team in here, but I just didn't see a good fit for him there. He's already been on like every NFC team anyway, but I think the Patriots would be a good spot because they could afford him. He would help them win. I don't know what the Patriots are. I don't know if they're in a rebuild or if they're win now. Either way, he would be a good piece for that. And they need a deep threat because Nelson Aguilar is just not performing up to expectations. He's not doing as good as anyone thought he would. And now we're going to get into Jalen Smith. He came over from Dallas to Green Bay because of an overcrowded linebacking core. I mean, if I was Dallas, I probably just would have gotten rid of Leighton Vander Esch, but that's just me. Besides, there's no reason for his release from Green Bay, no apparent reason, but it doesn't matter what the reason is, he's out there now. So where would be a good spot for him? I mean, I have the Broncos as a good spot because I like him as a player, and we need linebackers. I think we have 7 injuries it is to our linebackers. We had to trade with the Rams to get one, and we traded 1 to the Rams, and then we have all rookies starting right now, so we definitely need linebackers. Now, we have the 3rd most cap space in the league, so we could afford them if we wanted the bag. And like I said, we just traded Von Miller, so we're going to need more linebackers. Next again, we have the Jaguars. They have the most cap space in the league. They could definitely afford him. They also need linebackers, not as badly, but they need them. And just like the Broncos, they traded one of their premier players early in the year, in Joe Schobert. And last, we have the first NFC team here. We have the Lions. I know he probably wouldn't like any of these landing spots, but who cares? The Lions, they need some depth on the rebuilding squad, and he would be a good veteran, a good centerpiece for that defense to go along with Alex Anzalone. All right, now it's trade time. I know I already talked about Von Miller, but oh well. Melvin Ingram, his former Steelers linebacker, traded to the Chiefs. Great, like they need more talent for a 2022 6th rounder. And that sounds like not much for one of the premier pass rushers in the league, but hear me out here. Ingram was injured, and he only had half a sack the whole year, and the Chiefs defense is struggling, so they really need anyone. Even though I just said they don't need more talent, they kind of do. But they don't need more talent, they need more people to be productive. So if you look at the whole thing, I think the Chiefs won this trade. And speaking of Chiefs and trades, hopefully I don't butcher this name, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Yes, he is a Chiefs guard who's traded to the Jets for tight end Daniel Brown. As most people know, Laurent opted out of the 2020 NFL season to assist medical professionals in the fight against COVID-19. Yes, he's a doctor and a football player. It's pretty impressive. And according to some articles I read, the Jets traded for him for offensive line depth. And if you look at the roster, or even if you just watch a game, you'll know that they need it. And who's Daniel Brown? Like, no disrespect to him, but I never heard of him. So if you put it all together, I think the Jets easily won this trade. That's not a hard one to decipher. And now for almost trades, Deshaun Watson. After endless trade rumors, he was not dealt before the trade deadline. The reason being is probably his 22 still go lawsuits for sexual assault. He hasn't played at all this year, and he doesn't want to play for the Texans, but he's still there. And there's a big question surrounding that, and would it have been worth the risk to trade for him? For me personally, if I was a general manager of any team, besides the Texans, I guess, I wouldn't have traded for him. I think it's too much of a risk. But if you look at the risk, it could be a very high reward, because if he's not guilty, he's innocent, then it would be, he's a top tier NFL quarterback, and those are hard to come by. It's not like you turn the corner and you see one. They're very rare, so you could get one. I mean, I'm sure if the team wanted to make the deal, they would have done it, but I guess no team wanted to take the risk, and I agree with that. All right, now a little more serious news. We're going to talk about Henry Ruggs. He was charged for DUI, resulting in the death of a lady and her dog on Tuesday, November 2nd at like 3 in the morning. And Ruggs was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. And then later on Wednesday, he was released by the Raiders and taken to a detention center in Las Vegas. So who knows what else will happen to him. This is most likely going to be the end of his career. And my prayers and thoughts go out to the family who lost that lady, and just more of the story, don't drink and drive. Right, and last but not least, we're going to talk about Mike the Goat White. He led the Jets, yes, the Jets, to an upset win, this is weird to say, over the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, they were the number 1 seed, now they're not, because of Mike White. And he had a really good game. He threw for 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he did throw 2 picks, but if you watch the game, you realize they're not his fault. They were both tipped balls, which can't control that. He started 11 for 11 passing, and he caught a 2-point conversion pass. I mean, that's all great and all, but can he do it again? His next game is Week 9 Thursday night against the Colts. And against that Colts team, maybe. They're both sides of the ball for the Colts, offense and defense, and even special teams, if you want to throw that in there, have underperformed this year. The Jets coming off a big win, Colts coming off a big loss. He could, but I think his defense has really got to step it up, and his O-line is going to give him time in the pocket to make those throws that he's going to need to make if you want to win against one of the supposedly premier teams in the league. And all of those, just those, all of them were the major headlines from last week. And now let's talk about Thursday night, Week 10. Alright, Thursday night football for this week is between the Ravens and Dolphins. Yeah, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes at this one. I kind of am too, but we're still going to talk about it. We're still going to break it down. And we're going to start with the quarterback comparison. Again, lots of eyeballing here. We're going to start off with the obvious here, Lamar. He's an MVP candidate. He's not just a running back. He's proved this year that he can also be a quarterback. And with all the injuries the Ravens have had, it hasn't phased him. He's still done a great job. And on the other side of the coin, Tua, this could be his last year in Miami. Now, do I think he deserves another chance? Yes. But is he going to get one? Probably not. He's been underperforming, which is, I guess, putting it lightly. He's not been doing good at all, really. And he's got good weapons to throw to as well. He just hasn't done it. And the Desean Watson trade rumors could impact his game, good or bad. It could make him think, oh shoot, they're trying to get rid of me, maybe I should play better. Or it could be like, oh shoot, they're trying to get rid of me, and it lets it get into his head. And I'm just going to state the obvious here, Lamar's better. Now for the running back comparison. The Ravens have, like every running back imaginable that they had got injured, and they still have had an unstoppable run game. I guess it's just the threat Lamar poses, but the running backs have also been doing good. It's weird to see Le'Veon Bell wearing number 17 in a Ravens jersey, but he's been doing decent. The Dolphins, on the other hand, could use a little bit more of the run game to help Tua out and just to help the team out, really. And they both have extremely mobile quarterbacks, but I still say even with all the injuries, the Ravens do have a better rushing attack. Right now for the pass catchers, the wide receiver and tight end comparison. Are the Dolphins found to be better at something? We'll see. And they both have really good cores. Like I said earlier, the Dolphins have great pass catchers. It's just Tua hasn't been doing as good for them to benefit. And the Ravens specifically, their pass catchers have stepped it up this year. So the whole offense really is just been taken to another level, and they're a huge part of it. And the Dolphins pass catchers have also been reliable for Tua. Whether he gets it on target or not, the Dolphins catchers are usually there for the ball. And they both have top-tier tight ends. But if I had to pick for one to do good, I would hope it would be Gesicki, because he's on my fantasy team, but whatever. I don't have any luck with that. And I think if you look at all of it, I think the Dolphins slightly better with their pass catchers, but it's not by a huge margin like the Ravens or with the running back and the quarterback. This one's really close. But I do have the Dolphins as a better in that category. Now for the defense. Rolls, I know. There's not much else to say. The Dolphins' defense is not good. It was supposed to be really good and carry the team, and I just don't know what happened. The offense has not been doing good. The defense has not been doing good. They've just been underperforming as a whole. But the Ravens' defense is the opposite. They've been playing good, just like we thought they were coming in. And even though they haven't had to do as much, they've still been doing as much as they usually do. I mean, Lamar is doing a lot more, so the defense doesn't have to do as much. I mean, if you look on paper at these two defenses, it's pretty close. But if you look at performance, the Ravens knocked this one out of the ballpark. And now the Dolphins' losing streak. The Dolphins just have bad luck and poor game closing. Like games against the Jaguars and the Falcons, where that's easy wins, and you have the lead, and then the other team drives down the field. I don't care how they win; they end up winning. They just can't. They don't close the games out, and that has really hurt them. The offense needs to pick up the pace. The defense has to close out the games that they are winning, and they have to win the games that they aren't winning. And just every single person on this team has to play better if they want to win this game. But the Ravens, the main story for them is their injuries. Like every running back almost is injured. They're still winning. Their running game is still good. The pass catchers are stepping it up. And the defense and special teams are doing what they always do. They're just being fantastic. So that's how they've been so far. But looking at the expectations coming into this year, the Dolphins were supposed to be a playoff team. In week 1, they got a tough game in Foxborough against the Patriots, and they went in there. They looked like a playoff team, and they got a complete win. And then ever since, they just kind of fell off. And I don't know if they remember how to play football, but if they do, they're not showing it. And then the Ravens, they're the exact opposite. They're a playoff team. They're a complete team. And I don't know if they're going to win the division, but with the division that all 4 teams could win, I think if all 4 teams can win it, they can definitely win it. But I mean, with the division up for grabs, I think they're going to make the playoffs either way. But they're meeting expectations for this year, and some players are exceeding those expectations. And for this pick, the game pick, I have the Ravens over the Dolphins. Big shocker. 35-20, so it's not going to be entirely close. But that is the preview for Thursday night. Ravens at Dolphins. Catch the one on NFL Network. And now, I'm going to talk about Sunday's games. Alright, now let's talk about the Sunday games. And just a disclaimer, I will not be talking about all games. I will only be talking about the games with some sort of relevancy, or if they're just boring, I won't talk about them. And there'll be a couple of ones in here where everyone's going to be like, those games aren't relevant. Well, to me, I think they have something in them that would make them worth watching. And we're going to start off with one that everyone's going to think is relevant, and that's Browns at Patriots. I mean, whether either of these teams is going to make the playoffs is uncertain, but it's a key game for both teams. Browns have dealt with a lot of injuries, and that has kind of ruined their season. And the Patriots, I don't know what they are. I don't know what kind of team they are. I don't know their identity on any side of the ball. All I know is they have a good defense, really. They're a really confusing team to dissect. But for going back to the game now, both quarterbacks have to exceed their expectations set to win this game. This is not going to be an easy game to win, but if either team wants to win the game, it's not going to be with poor quarterback play. I mean, someone's going to have to win. No, it could be a tie. It's probably going to end up being a tie if the quarterbacks don't play well, because the defenses are just great. They both have top-tier defenses. And for the game pick, I do have the Patriots at home over the Browns, 21-17, so it'll be close. The Patriots are going to stick it to the Browns and get their win out. All right, now I have 2 teams I talked about a lot earlier in the episode. Saints at Titans. This is going to be a great game. I think everyone already knew that, but they both are dealing with significant injuries. The Saints have lost their starting quarterback, Jameis Winston, and their star receiver, Michael Thomas, for the rest of the year. And the Titans have lost King Henry. That's self-explanatory, not how good he is. The Saints do have the better defense, but the Titans have the more consistent offense, so they'll probably perform better with more pieces missing. And for my pick, this one's going to be close, and it was hard to pick. But I think the Titans at home over the Saints, 27-24. So again, this one's going to be close, a little closer than Browns and Patriots, but it's going to come down to the wire. I think the Titans are going to get the win out. Right, here's the first game that people won't think is relevant, and it's Lions at Steelers. The Lions are the Lions. Well, that's the easiest way to say it. They're stumbling down a steep hill, and then for the Steelers, I don't know. I mean, it's not easy to dissect the Steelers because they know either they're not going to be good this year or they're going to be great this year, and they're sort of in between. They're a middling team who could win their division, but it's not an easy division to win. Some people think they're great, some people think they're washed. I don't know what to think of the Steelers. They're kind of just a big question mark for me. They both have quarterback issues. The Lions have Jared Goff, and the Steelers have an old Big Ben. Now, if this was prime Jared Goff and prime Ben Roethlisberger, oh yeah, this would be a great matchup, but it's not. They're both not in their prime. They're both kind of getting worse, so it's not going to get a lot of publicity, but for both teams, I know the Lions have a lot of no names on their receiving core, and the Steelers are famous for their drops, but both pass catchers could perform better. The Steelers do have the way better defense. And I know it sounds like I'm riding the Steelers on this one, but I'm feeling some upset vibes, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. The Lions are going to win on the road in Pittsburgh, 21-14. The Buccaneers at the Washington football team. I mean, this one only has really a little bit of relevancy because of the meeting last year. They met in the playoffs and the wildcard game, and Taylor Heinicke got his first ever NFL start, and he was in the playoffs against Tom Brady, and he almost beat him. But it's not going to be the same story this time. The Bucs are just the Bucs. So that's the only way I can really put it. In Washington, they've got a lot of questions. I don't know if Taylor Heinicke's the answer. Antonio Gibson has been playing with a shattered shin, and he's not been doing good because he's playing injured. He should just take a week off or something to heal. But they're supposed to have. Some people think they're supposed to have the best defense in the league this year, and they're actually ranked 32nd. So I don't know what happened there. Really, the only reason this game's going to be talked about is because the playoff matchup last year, but this one's going to be a blowout. There's nothing else to it. I have the Bucs over the Washington football team, 35-14. Not going to be close. And now Falcons at Cowboys. Again, like I said earlier, the Falcons are just kind of irrelevant, and they have been ever since they lost the Super Bowl. And the Cowboys have also, they've been relevant, but kind of for the wrong reason. And now they're actually playing good this year. They both teams though have elite wide receiver and tight end corps. Even with Calvin Ridley out, the Falcons still have one of the best in the league. The Cowboys D is meeting their expectations, and the Cowboys D is exceeding their expectations, and the Falcons D is meeting their expectations, which their expectations were playing bad, so they're not doing good. And like I said earlier, Cowboys are finally doing good this year. They're on a roll. They're playing great. Prescott's back and everything. And even though I just basically manslaughter the Falcons, I do think they're going to keep it close and lose at the end. They always do. I have the Cowboys over the Falcons at home, 35-28. Right now we're going to get to afternoon games with Panthers-Cardinals. This is going to be a really interesting and good game. Both teams started 3-0. Arizona started 7-0. Ever since their 3-0 starts, Panthers, they've kind of crumbled like a cookie, and then Arizona, they've shown that they're mortal, but they're still powerful. They can lose, but they're not going to lose easily. So they're still one of the top teams in the league, even after losing to a depleted Packers team. This is a crucial game for both teams. I know the Cardinals are like, how is this a crucial game for them? Because they're tied for first in the NFC West with one of the best records in the league. So if they want to win the division and possibly get the number one seed in the NFC, they almost have to win out. Really, the NFC is going to be competitive this year. So is the AFC, but NFC more so. And for the Panthers, really, if they just want to have a chance at anything, they kind of need to win this one, definitely. But even if it's going to be a really important game for the Panthers and the Cardinals are still going to win. It's not a hard pick to make. 28-14 over the Panthers. All right, Vikings at Chargers. If you have the chance to watch this game, watch it. This is going to be an amazing game, trust me. Both teams need this game. That's a need is in bold. They need it. They both have great quarterbacks. Yes, I called Kirk Cousins great. Get over it. They both had solid defenses who they could lose the game because they're D. They could win the game because they're D. They're consistent and decent. That's the best way to put it. They both have absolutely amazing pass catchers, and I do think this is going to be a really, really close game. In fact, it's so close. The Chargers are going to win 34-31 on a last-second game-winning field goal. In the last play of the game, they're going to win the game. It's going to be that close, because that's just what the Vikings do. All right, here we go. Seahawks-Packers. The Seahawks are probably not going to make the playoffs because the Russell Wilson injury and Geno Smith fumbling games away, but this is a must-win. Now, this win is in bold and capital letters. They must win this game. If not, they're basically out of the playoffs. I mean, lots of teams are counting up now, but never say never. But if they lose this game, never. Now, the quarterbacks are going to be the big topic in this one because Russell Wilson, again, he got injured earlier. He hasn't played yet. He's eligible to return this week. So will he come back this week? If he does, this game just got way more competitive and it's going to be talked about a lot more than if it's Geno Smith. But if he's not back, then the Packers should have this one in the bag, assuming they have Aaron Rodgers, because he is eligible to return the day before the game happens. But if he has to sit out even one more day, he's going to miss the game. So the whole matchup depends on the quarterbacks. And if both teams have their starting quarterbacks, I'm going to go the upset. I think if they both have their starting quarterbacks, the Seahawks are going to go in Lambeau and beat the Packers 28-27. But if it's the backup quarterbacks, I do have the Packers over the Seahawks 21-14. And now let's talk about the Broncos game. So the Broncos are going to welcome in the Eagles to their home, and this is a must-win for both teams. Again, this one is in bold and capital letters. This is a huge game for both teams. This is essentially the last chance for the Eagles. So they're probably not going to do anything, but if they want to, this is going to be their last chance. And Broncos, we really just need another win to stay alive in the AFC West because, yeah, we're tied with the Chiefs, but I might not stay. If we want to have a chance at the playoffs or even to not get lost in our division, this is also enough. It's big. We need this W potentially more than the Eagles because I think it's pretty self-explanatory there. We're both dealing with a lot of injuries. We're both dealing with up and down quarterback play. And taking all this in consideration, here's my non-biased pick. I do have the Broncos at home 24-21 over the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, last game I want to talk about the Sunday night game. Chiefs at the Raiders. I'm talking about the Chiefs here, but what the heck happened? The Chiefs were supposed to be the Chiefs, and they're not the Chiefs. I don't know what happen to them, but Mahomes is throwing too many interceptions. The defense is not playing good at all, and the Broncos are tied with the Chiefs in the AFC West. That's saying something. Like, the Chiefs are not good this year, and the Raiders, what the heck happened to them? I mean, this has been a rough season, not on the field, but off the field. First John Gruden and then Henry Ruggs. I don't know. The Raiders are playing good, but they've had a lot to deal with this year, and the Chiefs are kind of just falling from glory right now. They absolutely need to get back on track if they want to make the playoffs. And this is a great chance to do it underneath the lights with all of America watching. But I do have the Raiders in this one over the Chiefs, 28-24. So it'll be close, but Raiders will squeak out a victory here. And there we go, that's previewing most of Sunday's Week 10 matchups. Thank you for listening to Football Fanatic today. We talked about a lot today, including the latest headlines, bold predictions, and game predictions. Next episode, I will basically be doing the same thing, except I will throw in the playoff picture at some point. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a like. It helps me out a lot. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.